Hey everyone, it's BlueLizardJello and welcome back to Blue's base level Soulsborne challenge here in Dark Souls 1 Remastered. Now things may look a little bit differently, and before we really get into anything here, I'm going to show you my gear. A couple things to take note of. Number one, this is post commentary. I didn't want to do post commentary, but at the time of recording there was so much construction going on in my building that simply doing live commentary wasn't an option. The other thing is, I have some mods installed. Let me go over the mod list, and I will put these in the description if you do want to actually use them yourself. I am using the Enhanced Lighting and Effects mod. Right here I'm actually showing you a message because I do have the HD Summon Signs and Player Messages mod installed. I am playing online for the first time, I think, since I've started these videos. I also have the DSR, the Dark Souls Remastered Texture Packer and Unpacker. That actually allows me to override some of these textures. I have the new interface icons, you may have seen that when I went into the menu, the Bloodborne lock-on, and high visibility enemy health bars. You'll see that when I encounter the first enemy. I love the Bloodborne lock-on. By the way, here is the Helm of Favor, and in fact the Armor of Favor that we got because we killed Lothric. I also have the revamped stat buff icons. You can see right now the Ring of the Evil Eye up under my stamina. And probably my favorite, invisible player effects. Like many of you, I am actually tired of seeing my stamina regeneration buff when I'm using the Chloranthy Ring or the Grasscrest Shield. This mod actually turns those effects off. Now, unfortunately, one of the effects of the Enhanced Lighting and Effects mod is this right here. You're seeing some of the bleed with the fog effect and the vegetation. You're actually going to see that I turned it off here momentarily just to see what it looks like. I do put it back on because for the most part I enjoy it, but here in Firelink doesn't work quite well. But let's talk to Mr. Siegmeyer for just a moment.
I am grateful. You know,
I just said Siegmeyer, didn't I?
The old fortress. Was that your doing?
It sure was.
Yes, I knew it. It seemed like an unlikely coincidence. Well, am I fortunate? This Knight of Katarina thanks you sincerely.
We get the Miracle Emit Force, something I will never be able to use, unfortunately.
There you are. I'll be heading down below shortly. There's nothing worthwhile up above. No worries. Venturing is my life. I'm prepared for the worst.
We've talked about it before. I do plan on doing most, if not all, of the NPC quest lines, so it is important that I talk to him here so we can help him down in Blighttown. Because we did kill Lothric, we got Anastasia's soul, so let's go ahead and return it to her.
Thank you. I am Anastasia of Astora. Now I can continue my duty as a keeper. But I only hope that my impure tongue does not offend.
At this point, I'm not going to talk to her further. If you've done this questline, you've talked to her, you realize that she doesn't want to speak. She realizes that she has an impure tongue and really should not be heard, so I'm just going to leave her alone. Right now, we're going to head over to our blacksmith friend, but before that, we do have a bowl-cut-headed freak that we need to talk to.
Oh, you. Have you seen Milady? Oh, blast, where might she be? And would she be safe?
Yeah, I'm sure you're really terribly concerned for your lady. Anyway, like I said, we're going to head over to our blacksmith friend. Something we need to take care of. Now, we actually have, and I say we, I have a plan for this episode. Oh, sorry. As I was saying, I have a plan. Now, I had a plan in the last episode when I was running through Anor Londo, and frankly, that plan didn't quite pan out. There was a lot of deaths. There was a lot of cutting in that episode, and I'm hoping that I won't have to do nearly as much in this episode. But let me talk a little bit about my plan. You see, right now, we're heading to our blacksmith friend so we can upgrade a shield. It doesn't really matter what shield I upgrade, although I am going to use the Balder shield because I already have it at +5, and we're going to upgrade it to +10. We can do that because we have gotten the large Ember from the depths already. The reason we're doing this is because with a plus 10 shield and the Soul of the Moonlight Butterfly, the giant blacksmith in Anor Londo can ascend that into the Crystal Ring Shield, which is something that even at Soul Level 1, I can use. Here I am a bit confused because I didn't see the Balder Shield. I'm going to realize my mistake here in just a second. But the Crystal Ring Shield, while it's not a great shield overall, it's only 70% physical damage reduction and only a stability of 40 at base level, it has this really great property that instead of using a parry or some sort of shield bash, you actually emit a magical disc that damages enemies. Now, before it was nerfed, and it was nerfed almost into the ground, it actually functioned based on the damage of the weapon in your right hand. Now, this was many, many years ago. In other words, the higher damage outputting your weapon was in your right hand, the more damage you could do with the shield. So it was not unheard of to see 1,400 damage being put out by that shield. It was absolutely absurd. Now, it has been nerfed incredibly drastically, and so even at plus 5, which is the maximum you can upgrade the boss weapons, it will only do 150 damage. But I'm still really excited to use it because it's something I've never played with, and I get to do it at Soul Level 1. So we'll see what kind of use we can get out of it. But that's all we needed to do here with the blacksmith for now. We will come back a little bit later to do some upgrades. But at this point, it is time to head back to Firelink Shrine. Oh, it is so nice to be able to warp. Before we go to the next step of our journey, which means we are going to be heading down into New Londo again, I am going to head back to the Northern Undead Asylum. The only thing I'm going to be doing there is trading a couple of items with the crows. I need 2 more Demon Titanite in order to get the Crystal Ring Shield up to plus 5, which is what my goal is. Fortunately, I do have 2 items in my possession that I haven't traded yet. Simple roll here. Thank you, Dark Souls Remastered, for offering 60 frames per second and not impacting my roll speed and distance. I do appreciate you. Don't forget to curl up like a ball, aka an raven egg. Just skipping these cutscenes, we've seen them dozens and dozens of times. So here I am going to deal with these torch-wielding hollows because it's Soul Level 1, actually really at any level, they can prove to be really dangerous. So I'm just going to use my trusted Fire Battle Axe plus 5, get rid of them. And I am going to be cutting out the quit-outs because no one needs to see that. I think everyone knows how the crows work at this point. But the first item that I'm going to trade is a single Prism Stone. So just in case you aren't aware, once you've dropped an item, all you need to do is quit out of the game and come back, and the item will be waiting for you. So there's our first Demon Titanite. The next item is a Dung Pie. However, throwing the dung pie off of the nest doesn't cut it. You do actually have to drop one. I just wanted to show that off just in case people thought throwing a handful of poop would get you a Demon Titanite. No, it doesn't. So there is our second Demon Titanite. We now have 10 in our possession, which is enough to get a single boss weapon or item like a shield to plus 5. There's something else that we want to accomplish, though, before we focus on the Crystal Ring Shield. You see, we are now entering into the, I don't know what you want to call it, the second half or maybe the second act of the game, where you have to start getting the Lord Souls so we can fill up the Lord Vessel. By the way, I have not placed the Lord Vessel just yet. And the game gets a lot more difficult. I also still have the DLC ahead of me. And the weapons that I have, while I've been upgrading them pretty frequently, they are not sufficient at dealing damage in terms of the bosses that we're going to be going against. So I definitely need to up my game. So I'll talk more about that here in a second. So I am buying all of the spells here, or at least what I can. In fact, I think I can buy all the spells. I just don't have enough for both of the rings yet. Because again, we are trying to do the quest lines, which means we do have to buy all of these if we want to follow Master Logan's.
Have you spoken to Master? He is an
and trying to talk to Master Logan, but he doesn't have a whole lot to say to us just yet.
Hello.
That's okay, we still have Laurentius of the Great Swamp, and since we still have some souls to spare, might as well buy all the pyromancies. This is the first time I've actually talked to him in Firelink Shrine on this character. Remember, I did have to recreate it once I started the Dark Souls Remastered. The only reason I'm doing this is because I had a lot of souls, and I didn't want to waste them, because where we're going, frankly, gets a little bit dangerous. We are going down into New Londo. We've been down there before. That was just a farm for a jagged ghost blade, which I used in the last episode. But now, there's something else even more important. I want to get down there. I want to drain the water, release the seal, and I want to get the very large Ember. Once I have the very large Ember, I can upgrade standard weapons to plus 15, which is a massive, massive damage boost. Here I am popping a few humanity because with fighting the Dark Wraiths, we do know that there is the opportunity to get the Titanite chunks and possibly even Titanite slabs. And having at least one soft humanity makes a world of difference in terms of your item discovery. Pausing here for just a moment so I can get some of those transient curses going. I do love the look of New Londo in the Dark Souls Remastered. These glowing flames are just, they're so vibrant. They really do stand out really nicely. But since I have installed some mods, I would love to hear from you. Does this look any better? Can you actually see the difference? Is it noticeable? Is it something that you would like to see more of from me? Don't usually use mods. It's not really my wheelhouse to install mods. Nice jump attack there. Oh, nice kick as well. Usually I like to play games as they were intended by the developer, the vanilla version. But something about the Dark Souls Remastered, it already didn't feel like the vanilla version, since obviously it was the remastered, so I thought, why not add some mods, see how good I can make this look. I think it looks a little nicer, but you can all tell me. Bait an attack, and I love the rolling R1 attack of the battle axe. Of course, we've all been here and seen this before. Gotta watch out for the ambush in this next room. So I'm just going to try and bait some of the ghosts to come out. And should have been able to roll. There we go. Now at this point, I have Havel's Ring and I have the Ring of the Evil Eye. I don't have on the Covetous Gold Serpent Ring. I do switch to that once I get down into fighting the Dark Wraiths, because any chunks that I can pick up will save me a lot of souls in the long run. Couple more transient curses. Not that I am ever going to run out or anytime soon. I think I had 16 or 17 at last count. Also, some of this I actually may be repeating because I did it on my previous character, but you'll have to forgive me. I didn't come down here and collect all the items. In fact, I can't even remember. That was so long ago, I don't remember what I did do last time I was down here. Take care of that ghost. Pick up a parrying dagger, which I also had a brief moment of memory loss and thought, could I actually use this instead of the Kaistus? No, not at 14 dexterity, I can't. So I am using the Kaistus strictly as a parrying tool. It's not upgraded, there's no infusion on it. I just want to use this against the Dark Wraiths because at my level, trying to fight them fairly, if you will, a little bit foolhardy. Couple more transient curses. I was hoping to get the actual Ghost Blade drop from the Banshees, but no such luck. Maybe one day I'll come down and farm for that, but then again, maybe not. So kicking the ladder down here, and of course I know that the ghost is waiting for me up above. I get myself into a little bit of trouble, not with this ghost, but with the ones that are hiding below this little archway. I'm surprised I didn't roll off the edge there. Didn't kill him in one swing, no big deal. Get myself a large soul of a nameless soldier, and now, instead of going down the ladder, which is what you're supposed to do to deal with the two ghosts that are hiding underneath, instead I allow them to try and start attacking me through the floor. And this is where I try and get them to come to me on the staircase. But, as you can see down below, they get a little bit hung up. It seems like he was starting to float his way up, but maybe the ladder got him stuck. I'm not sure. So I'm really contemplating what is my move. I thought maybe I could drop down instead of taking the ladder, but then I'll take some damage, and the ghosts, they can actually hit pretty hard. So I finally come up with the idea, why don't I just get on the ladder, slide down, give him a bit of a Goomba stomp on his head, and then just start attacking. I should be fine, right? Well, not if I can't hit through the wall, but he can. So death number 1 of this episode. Cutting out the run back, because the run back to New Londo can be a bit of a chore. So same thing, just baiting that ghost from up above. Slowly baiting the ghost from up above. Failing to bait the ghost from up above. Okay, do the arm stretched out. The battle axe, as I will show you in just a little bit, actually does a great job at blocking some damage. So even though it is a one-handed weapon for the most part, although I guess a lot of people end up using it with 2 hands, it does a considerable job at blocking damage. I was pleased when I use it once I get into the building that's just chock full of ghosts. And this is how you're supposed to handle this. Narrowly avoid the hug of death. That move right there, I really, really like it. You see, the overhead attack doesn't have great tracking, but if you roll towards an enemy and then lock on during the roll, then you will actually get the tracking you need to land that rolling R1 attack. I use it a few times because it allows you to get around corners where you know something's waiting. This is where it can get very, very tricky. You may already know, but 3 ghosts are going to come from the water. And this building over here is absolutely full of ghosts. I don't know what the total number is, but it is very high. Far too high to simply run through it as much as I'd like. So my goal here is to try and bait as many as I can, both from the water and the building. You can see they're starting to show up through the walls. I also need to pay attention to the transient curse. It's on my hotbar specifically, because as soon as it shows that I can use it again, that means the current one that I'm using has run out. And if I'm not paying attention, then I'll just be swinging right through these ghosts while they can attack me. Couple of misses here. Luckily he's missing just as often as I am. There we are. Transient curse should be running out here shortly. I contemplated doing the jump. That's not a very difficult jump to make, especially now that you can unbind the roll and the jump buttons. But I wasn't too confident in my ability since it's been a little while since I've actually practiced jumping. Getting out of here just a little bit so I can heal up. But 1 jump attack later, 2 out of the 3 in the water are dead. And now it's just a matter of baiting whatever I can to make this as safe as possible. This is the easy part. Once I drain the water and I have to fight the dark wraiths, those are the ones that will kill me in 1 to 2 hits, and it will be very easy for them to stun lock me, as frankly you're about to see. So there was a case where I did block with a battle axe, really good damage reduction. Transient curse is still active. And at this point, this is what I recommend doing, because if you just run into the center of the building and try to climb the ladder up to Ingward, you will get absolutely bamboozled with ghosts. I don't know if that's the right word, or if that's even a word that could be used in that situation, but it's the one I chose. But if you follow this path, you'll draw them out 1 or 2 at a time. And you can see here, I don't notice just yet, but my transient curse has run out. Luckily, that ghost hit me, so I have to run back and heal, and that's when I notice, aha, I should probably top off on my curse. For those of you who don't know, one of the really cool, somewhat hidden mechanics is if you die from curse, from the basilisks or even from Seath, you can attack these ghosts at any time. I don't know too many people who play that way because it's a little bit dangerous with the reduced health. But it's a really cool feature. If you are cursed, then you don't need a transient curse, a temporary curse. And I just think that is a really, really cool mechanic. Seeing if any ghosts are following me. Yep, sure enough, there's another one. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to stay to the outside of the building as much as possible to draw them to me. And I should be able to get him within... Oh, it was close, but he was just within range. Very quickly racking up those souls again. Which is good because we would like to purchase a lot of upgrade materials from the giant blacksmith if possible. And at this point, there's no reason not to top off my health. I have so many Estus Flask uses. And here they are starting to come through the walls, through the ceiling. You do need to be careful about fighting in a corridor, though, because you may ricochet off the walls and leave yourself completely vulnerable. But so far, so good. Slow and steady is the name of the game in New Londo, at least in terms of where the ghosts are, because they are just so numerous. Soul of a Proud Knight goes trying to get me from the ceiling. Still floating just a little high for my liking. And there we are. So that should be the majority of the ghosts, and I should be fairly safe to go right into the center where the one Banshee is and take her out with a nice running R1. It is really sad. If you pay attention to those Banshee models, they are actually holding a baby. I don't really want to stop and think about that too much. It really is a shame what happened to the people of New Londo and why it had to happen and why people like Ingward had to be put in place in order to protect the seal.
Well, this is a surprise. I get few visitors, save for ghosts. You have the Lord Vessel. Very impressive. I know exactly what your intentions are. You seek the four kings whom I guard over. This is the key to the seal. The four kings slumber in the deepest chamber of the ruins. Use this key to break the seal and open the floodgates. Oh, and do not forget, the dark wraiths reside in a dark void called the Abyss. But the Abyss is no place for ordinary mortals. Although, long ago, the knight Artorius traversed the Abyss. If you can find him and learn from him, the Abyss may prove surmountable.
The reason I left this dialogue in is twofold. Number one, if you speak to Ingward with the Lord Vessel in your inventory, you do get a bit more dialogue out of him. But also, this is one of the best examples I have of the storytelling and the world building, of Dark Souls. Because if you didn't know that you needed to get a certain item in order to fight the Four Kings, Ingward has basically just told you, listen, if you try and fight them now, they live in the Abyss, and only one other person that we know of has ever been able to reverse the Abyss, and that was Artorius. Maybe if you can find him, he can teach you how to do it. Now, we do know that Beatrix the Witch has also been in the Abyss, but no one apparently knows that. So now we know, okay, if I want to go and get into the Abyss, I need to find Artorius. So you search and search until you finally find his grave, only to be confronted by his faithful companion, Sif, who's been faithfully guarding over the grave to try and stop anyone else from suffering the same fate that his master did. And it's just that whole story and the way it ties together and the way that it guides the player is easily one of my favorite bits of Dark Souls. Even if Four Kings is, well, far from my favorite boss battle. Completely forgot to go down there and get the Cursebite Ring, which we will do here in just a second. But first, don't forget to get this rare Ring of Sacrifice, and I will tell you right now, I use that in this episode. In fact, I end up using 2. Taking a little bit of fall damage here, but completely worth it, because now I can just run down these stairs, turn the corner. I already did come down here once to draw some of the ghosts out, using another transient curse just in case. Want to make sure I'm not forgetting any. There's the Cursebite Ring to increase my curse resistance, and sure enough, there was another ghost. I will likely end up using the Cursebite Ring when I do fight Seath the Scaleless. Probably the Cursebite Ring as well as some armor that increases curse resistance. I think the antiquated set is really good for that. Or now am I thinking of Dark Souls 3? Been a while since I've played through Dark Souls 1 in its entirety. Before we go down and actually open the seal and drain the water, we're going to run up here and go out on the ledge. I can't use the item, but it is an excellent bow if you have the dexterity to use it, the composite bow. Ignoring the lever here because it wouldn't work anyway. Using the key to the seal, and now I can just open up the large doors ending into the Valley of Drakes. And now the rest of New Londo will be open to us. You know what always got me? Is that I know that there are no less than 3 drakes perched immediately outside those doors. Now granted, they do have wings, so theoretically they could have just flown over the water. But I would have loved to have seen them get washed away in that vast surge of water. I mean, it did happen pretty suddenly. But no, if you go down there, the 3 drakes are still just waiting for you. No comment. Getting my Kaistus ready, because it is time to start taking out the Dark Wraith. So at this point, I'm getting rid of my Ring of the Evil Eye, putting on the Covetous Gold Serpent Ring. And I am going to use 6 more Humanity, get up to that cap of 10 soft Humanity and the Covetous Serpent Ring. Although I'm still lacking the plus 100 item discovery, I believe is what it is if you're using the Symbol of Avarice, but just not worth it. When I come back down here to farm, which I inevitably will, then I will likely use that setup. And 1 more will do it. And our first Dark Wraith is just up there on the ledge. The easiest attack that I find to parry is when they do the running stab attack. That one right there. That one would have been perfect. Watch the Dark Hand grab. And there it is. Now, if I had the Leo ring on, the Hornet ring, I would be able to kill them in a single hit, but 1 riposte and then 1 R1 later, and there's the drakes, of course, and that's enough to take them out. I do still have the Jagged Ghost Blade equipped, but frankly, I think I only use it once in this entire episode, simply because the Fire Battle Axe is doing so much more damage. You may be wondering why I just broke those vases. Vases? You also might be wondering why I just called the vases vases. All questions that, frankly, I don't have the answer to at this moment. I do like this right here. We got a player message, beware you have left, and we have that conspicuously placed item just asking us to walk right into the doorway and pick that item up. And if you do, Darkwraith's gonna have some words for you. Can't parry a kick. Can't parry a kick. Time to get out of there. Ooh, catches me with the poke. Try and bait an attack so I can heal again. Oh, but incoming poke. Time to get some distance. By the way, one thing that Dark Souls Remastered or Dark Souls with DS Fix does really well is showcasing that a lot of the textures on the floor here aren't just cobblestone and rock. They are actually the corpses of all the previous denizens of New Londo. Not doing a great job with this Dark Wraith. And at this point I figured maybe I should just try and fight him fairly. It does considerable damage, 144. Ah, but there's the parry. Missed the riposte, but that's okay. A few more attacks, he is done. Still no drops yet. I have not heard it confirmed whether or not the drop rate has been increased for the Dark Wraiths with their Titanite chunks and their slabs. It does seem to have been increased in other areas, like we talked about in the last episode with the Painting Guardians and their swords. Enter this room with a lot of caution. There are 3 Dark Wraiths and one of these soul masses. Easy parry and riposte. One more Dark Wraith is dead. This time we do get a Titanite chunk. Very nice. There is the soul mass. Lot of really dangerous attacks. He, of course, has that goo that he spits out that slows you down and does damage over time. He has that piercing, slashing tongue projectile. It's not really a projectile because it stays attached, but he also has this, the wisp attack. The same wisp that we see down in the catacombs, which makes you wonder, was there a soul mass that produced those wisps, or did they somehow float up all the way from New Londo? Another nice parry there. And the finish with the Jagged Ghostblade, and that is the last you are going to see of that. Picked up a Titanite chunk, but at what cost? It didn't cost me everything like it did Thanos, but darn close. I'm sure you all know this trick by now. Just bait the soul mass to the stairs, and then bait an attack, get an attack, maybe two, and then just get out of there. That tongue attack, it can hit you if you're on the stairs. If you're right below him, it shouldn't actually catch you. Just narrowly avoided that goo. And that time decided to jump right into it. A lot of damage. I'm slowed. I'm taking damage over time. At this point, it would be foolish to fight him now. So instead, let's just look at Silverina dripping with soul mass ectoplasm. We'll go with that. Cool guys don't look at explosions, and neither do cool girls. Oh, that would have been a lot cooler if I didn't stumble on my words there. I could edit it out. Nah, I'll leave it. Just about dead. And there we go. Fortunately, they do not respawn. 5,000 souls, too. Not bad. Not bad at all. Right, so we do have one more Dark Wraith to go in this room, and this is the last room we actually need to clear. Of course, we need to worry about these wisps, and I love how these all go off. Just really cool sequence. So the last Dark Wraith right here in this hut. All we need to do is get the parry. Of course, he's a little bit stuck. And unfortunately, he led with an attack that I wasn't prepared for. I missed the parry. He hit me once for the stun lock, and then I died. So I come right back down. I bring the rare ring of sacrifice because I didn't want to lose all those souls in soft humanity, only to get stun locked yet again. And here I am back. I have already retrieved my souls, so I don't have the rare ring of sacrifice on again. Oh, and he caught me almost, I wouldn't say a dead angle, but I was at the very end of his swing. There is another death to the Dark Wraiths. Let's try this again. We get our souls, we get all of our soft humanity back. I was almost going to switch out the ring. Oh, I guess I do have time. There it is, boost that item discovery. And Dark Wraith hasn't followed me just yet. See if we can't pull him in. I don't like fighting in this hallway. Walls are a bit too close for me, especially using an item or a weapon as big as the battle axe. See if we can bait the stab. Exactly what I like to see. And the finish, perfect. So now once again, Soul Mass is dead. Now we do have the 3 Dark Wraiths that we need to take care of. But walk nice and slowly and don't go too far in so we can pull one at a time. There's the stab, always what I like to see. And the finish. Oh, another Titanite chunk, excellent. It's going to be really valuable once I get that very large Ember. Was able to walk just quietly enough to get that backstab. You can can see the item up there. We are headed up that way. We will be collecting that item, but what we want is in the treasure chest that's up there as well. And here is the last Dark Wraith standing in between us and the very large Ember. Do not like that attack, because if he follows that up after he catches me, that's it. I'm done. This, honestly, did not go badly at all. I was expecting a lot worse. Don't forget to grab the humanity off of this corpse, and now we're going to head upstairs, collect the one shiny and the one treasure, and that's it. We're going to leave New Londo and carry on the rest of our plan. At this point, I did want to make sure that my transient curse was still active because, frankly, I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember whether or not there were any more ghosts here. We're just going to grab that soul item. Speaking of things that I forgot, rounding this corner, there's the staircase, but then there's also a path directly to the left of the stairs. Oh, rounding several corners. And for some reason, I thought going this way was the right way. You know, I actually heard that there's a guide out there that can help you find everything in this game. Something about all things that you can do in Dark Souls, or everything that you can find, everything possible. Is that it? Everything possible? Everything possible in Dark Souls. Okay. I might have to actually look that up. Although I hear the creator's a bit annoying to listen to. But there is our very large Ember. Will allow upgrading all the way up to plus 15. Very excited to see that, because now we can start putting out some respectable damage numbers, provided I have the Titanite chunks and slabs to upgrade them with. But that's it. We're done with New Londo. Let us head back up topside. Very happy with that run. We have a lot of souls that we can spend, and we now have the ability to upgrade even further. Just checking to see what we had for chunks. And now we are going to head right back to our blacksmith friend and select what we want to start upgrading first. Now, at soul level 1, we know that we're limited. I already have the battle axe up to plus 5 with the fire infusion. I'll be able to get that higher later on. The jagged ghost blade is maxed out at plus 5, but then I do have items like the dagger, the hand axe, I have the club, the reinforced club, mace, the morning star. So we're going to have some options here in just a second. You know, one thing that I wanted to mention earlier when we were talking to Anastasia after we brought her back was the idea that we've now had 3 Dark Souls games, and we have traveled many, many different lands, and we've returned to some of those in Dark Souls 3. But you know, we never got to see Astora. We meet so many characters from Astora. We hear about that land so often, but we never got to visit. And honestly, I think I would love to see a game that at least partially took place in the past, a bit of a prequel, because Astora had so many interesting, deep, rich characters, and I would love to see what their land was like, maybe at the start of the descent of the flames, as the flames started to go out. Taking a look at all the different items that I can ascend. Really took a little bit of time here, but I finally decided that I would ascend several of them, but only choose maybe one to get up, not to max. I don't want to use the one slab that I have currently. But getting up to plus 14 is still pretty valuable. So choosing the Reinforced Club, one of the best soul level 1 weapons in the game. Also doing the mace. I do like the mace. Occult Club, I thought about it, but only a single white Titanite chunk. Not really worth it at this time. And there we go. The Reinforced Club can be ascended. The mace can be ascended. So can the Balder Shield. I don't want to ascend the Balder Shield, though, because, again, I'm saving that for the Crystal Ring Shield. And there it is. Plus 13 and plus 14 for a respectable 218 damage without any sort of infusion, without any sort of buffs, and I can slap on any resin I want to get that effect as well. At this point, I was just debating buying some items to throw my souls away, but I might as well spend them at the Giant Blacksmith. He has a lot better items to choose from anyway. And because we have the Lord Vessel, warping is certainly an option. So let's head back to the Chamber of the Princess. We will have 2 NPCs to contend with in the main Cathedral Hall. I don't know why I was about to warp there. Getting some charcoal pine resin. I also equipped the alluring skulls because I wasn't sure if the next enemies would be attracted to them. Turns out they are, but really, really briefly. Also switching out the mace here, and frankly, I don't know what would have done more damage, because if you add the physical damage and the fire damage from the battle axe that I was just using, it's considerably higher attack rating than the mace at plus 14. But the problem is, as we've talked about many times in the past, split damage also means split defenses. So you have to pass a physical defense check and then an elemental defense check, and it significantly reduces the attack rating in most cases. Whereas if I just get a high physical attack weapon and add an elemental boost on it, while it still has to go through both checks, it does tend to do more damage in most cases just because of the way that the damage and the defense calculations are. By the way, if you haven't been paying attention to the lock-on, you can definitely see it now. The HP bars are a lot more vibrant, so they stand out a bit more, but also when I lock on, you get that really cool single dot instead of the large circular reticle. And there it is again, though. Watch them go after that alluring skull. They barely pay attention to it. Oh, and I almost got parried there. I really do like these duos, and I'm not sure if they're supposed to represent specific characters. Obviously, we have a Baldur here, and then we have a Berenike Knight, but I don't know if these are supposed to be named characters. You know, frankly, I'm not entirely sure. If you know, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear either what they are, who they are, or if you have a theory. Mace does a great job at destroying his guard, especially when he's just using the greatsword. Speaking of greatsword, though, I was just thinking, I really like the model of the greatsword in Demon's Souls and in Dark Souls 1, as opposed to how it is in Dark Souls 2 and 3. It just becomes laughable in the other installments. It's so massive, it's so wide, whereas this, I could actually see some practicality here. Not too bad. I was actually a little worried to fight those NPCs, but it didn't go too badly at all. Before we head up to our giant blacksmith friend, because I haven't done it yet, let's go open this door, make a little bit of a shortcut if we ever need to come back here, which frankly we probably will not. We can't go out there and just use the shortcut door because I forgot to open it the last time I was out there fighting those Batwing demons. Twilight Anor Londo, it is actually a lot easier than the regular Anor Londo because most of the Silver Knights are gone. It does make for a much easier run through, that's for sure. Over 60,000 souls to spend, and it's not going to cost that much to upgrade the Crystal Ring Shield once I get it. By the way, in case anyone is curious, because it is a Crystal Ring Shield, some people think you can't repair it. That's not the case. This isn't a Crystal Infused Shield. It is the Crystal Ring Shield. You can absolutely repair it, which is important because it loses durability whenever you use the magical attack. Here are the stats of the Crystal Ring Shield. 70 physical defense, 90 magical, absolutely incredible magical defense, and a lower weight, only 3.0, but really low stability. You don't want to rely on this for blocking physical attacks because your shield, your guard, will be broken very, very quickly. Just taking a look at the lightning options, thought about it. I'll probably get a couple lightning infused weapons later on, but that's going to be down the road when I'm running out of options. Instead, we got the Crystal Ring Shield. Oh, and it just looks so cool. In fact, this looks somewhat similar to the Sanctum Shield that you get in Dark Souls 2 in the Crown of the Sunken King DLC. There's some differences, but definitely see some similarities. And at this point, now it's just spending spree. What do I want to buy? Might as well stock up on some large Titanite shards, because I already have 50 of the Moonlight arrows. I'm never going to use the giant armor. There we go. 30,000 worth of large Titanite. A single Titanite shard will just about drain me completely. Now it's time to equip our crystal ring shield, and it just, again, it looks so cool. And this attack, even though it only does 150 damage, plus you have to think about reductions, but look at that. I just love it. It's almost like a vertical version of the Way of White Corona, except it doesn't come back. So as I'm thinking about this out loud, the Way of White Corona in Dark Souls 3 has more utility than the Crystal Ring Shield. And potentially does even more damage, which is sad to say when you think about the Corona. By the way, this Bonfire Keeper does have some dialogue. I already got it because I did have to run past her earlier to do something off camera. So I do apologize you missed that dialogue, but basically she calls me a heretic. She's none too pleased. But there's the damage, 148, so barely any damage lost from the 150. Not too bad. The problem is the lock-on distance in Twilight Anor Londo is pretty short. I'm also surprised that I can withstand more than one hit with her weapon with Dark Moon Blade. Nice hit there. Get ready with the shields. 232 because I got that attack of opportunity on her, and that is it.
How? This woman is a threat. Master Gwyndolin.
The Brass Warrior is dead. We get the Firekeeper Soul. We'll be able to upgrade our flask with that because sadly you can't resurrect her and use the first Anor Londo bonfire any longer. So I didn't even mention this, but I talked about all my plans and I failed to mention we are going to be going after Gwyndolin in this episode. I do like to include a boss battle in just about every episode, if at all possible. This one is no exception. I did turn that the wrong way, apparently. I guess I always forget righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Although I don't see how that makes sense in terms of this rotating rotunda. Can I say that? Yeah, because most rotundas don't rotate. Guys, this is the problem when I have to do post-commentary. My mind wanders and I have to run with it. Or at least I allow myself to run with it, whereas if I'm doing it live, I tend to focus more on what is at hand. A little bit of an oddity here. Actually, no, let me save that for just a moment. I am going to rest here because my plan is if I die to Gwyndolin, I want to make sure that I resurrect here and not back at the Chamber of the Princess. Also, because I don't want to look like beef jerky when I'm killing Gwyndolin, did use a single of my soft humanity to reverse hollowing. And I take my time when I approach the fog gate because I wanted to show once you have destroyed the illusion of Guinevere, you can no longer kneel and offer souvenirs of reprisal. But let's see how we fare against Dark Sun Gwyndolin.
Heretic. First thou offendeth the Godmother, and now thou see fit to trample upon the tomb of the great Lord. I am the Dark Sun, Gwyndolin. Let the atonement for thy felonies commence.
I got this shield not only because the projectile is just so cool, but I figured since I was going after Dark Sun Gwyndolin, and because he uses magical attacks, maybe I would use it to block them. But you know what? I chickened out. Even though I do hold it up a couple times, I was too afraid to allow myself to take the full brunt of one of these magical attacks. Now I did take one of those, and that was not a lot of damage at all. I'm not too disappointed in that amount of damage. It won't take too many runs in order to get him down. I do love when He attacks with his bow. Easy side-to-side run. Got one attack there. Even though he's disappearing, make sure you get that attack off, because it's completely possible to still hit him. It's also completely possible to get hit by those smaller projectiles and die very quickly at soul level 1. And this is what I was going to say earlier. You notice that I actually have a soul count. That's because, try as I might, it didn't bring me back to this bonfire. In fact, it brought me back to the Anor Londo bonfire, the one that's now extinguished because I killed the Fire Keeper. So I eventually had to make my way through the cathedral, and then I went back to the Chamber of the Sun Princess bonfire, and then I warped to the Dark Moon bonfire. Very convoluted. Not sure why it didn't let me go back to that one bonfire. Maybe it's just coded that way? Although it seems strange that you'd have to run back that far. This could not have worked out any better. Look at the damage. I actually get 3 attacks off. Nearly bring him down to half. As long as there's nothing else in the air, I can run side to side to avoid that large magic attack. And there's another 3 attacks. Down to about a quarter. Get all my souls and my soft humanity back. Now this is where it gets a little dangerous. When he does these small projectiles, hide behind the pillar, but be prepared to roll, because that large attack goes right through the pillars. Should be able to finish this in this cycle. Especially if he's going to do that bow attack. And one more hit.
Oh, heretic, swathed in dark, an eternal curse upon thee.
And there we are. We get the soul of Gwyndolin, and the tomb is now accessible to us. $40,000 souls, not too bad. Look at the size of that coffin or that sarcophagus, even though Lord Gwyn is not even in there. We do have 3 different treasure chests to open. There is the entire brass set. Here we get the miracle sunlight blade. And then over here in the third and final, nothing. Just an empty chest. Feels a little hollow. And here we are back at the Chamber of the Sun Princess, and this is where we are going to wrap up the episode. This, honestly, could hardly have gone better, especially after the travesty that was my Anor Londo attempt. I am extremely happy with the progression made here. We got the Crystal Ring Shield, as I'm trying to demonstrate very dramatically. Takes a little bit of practice. But we got the very large Ember. We just took out Dark Sun Gwyndolin, and I think we're ready for whatever's next, which, frankly, I haven't decided on. But that is going to do it for this episode of my base level Soulsborne challenge here in Dark Souls Remastered. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time.